Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land. Welcome to the Week in Geek. I'm your t-shirted historian. All right. Well, we missed out on last week. I was not ill, but one of our panel members was pretty badly ill, and I'm glad that he's recovering. We also had other folks who were out for various reasons, because real life is a thing. And I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I just don't feel really comfortable jumping on there by myself to try to lead the entire discussion for an hour. I don't know. Maybe I should have more courage next time and lean on my audience members to help guide me through it. But anyway, I just kind of feel like I'd be talking to myself the entire time. And how much fun would that be? Which is exactly what I do during my rants. So, as I mentioned on Tuesday, I got my Zombicide White Death Kickstarter packages in, and I've kind of been poring over the rules and looking at all the pretty miniatures and thinking, when the hell am I going to have time to paint all this shit? Just like I do every time I get a package of miniatures from a Kickstarter. Because I am one of these guys who just, I have this hardcore, steadfast rule that I adhere to, which is I don't play with miniatures I have not painted or at least thrown a coat of primer on, just to encourage me to get started on the project. So I try to let my drive to play also get my ass in gear to paint it. Because there's nothing I hate worse than just bare plastic miniatures on a board. That reminds me too much of toys. You know what I mean? And I feel like I've outgrown toys for the most part. I don't really even collect toys anymore. I mean, yes, I did get some of the new G.I. Joes because nostalgia mostly. But they're boxed away and put aside. I mean, I got over it pretty quick. It wasn't like a big thing. I mean, and no, I'm not throwing any shade on anybody who still likes toys for collection purposes or even if you play with them with your kids and stuff. I understand. I mean, the day we outgrow our need to play is kind of the day we start getting old. But anyway, to kind of go along with what I'm trying to say about Zombicide, I've had zombie stuff on the mind a lot lately. Obviously I'm watching The Last of Us on Max, and I'm pretty much hating every episode because it sucks. And I want to be clear, I enjoyed season 1 for the most part, and there were a lot of memorable things in the first season that were good, but the second season is an absolute trash fire on multiple levels. And well, I mean, a chief part of it is probably the fact that, like most zombie, series, the zombies themselves kind of cease being a threat at a certain point. Because at a certain point, the characters are no longer really afraid of zombies. They've got their outposts managed. They've got their supply of stuff managed. They've dealt with zombies. There's no more horror necessarily to be had with zombies. And at that point, the shows start to break down the human thing. And then, of course, the next thing is like, oh, the humans are the real bad guys here because we're the really evil ones who do bad things to each other. And I'm always kind of like, yeah, okay, well, Snorefest. I like the interpersonal stuff like that, but I mean, I don't know. I think it's one of the genius things about George Romero in that if you watch Dawn of the Dead, even though he does have a lot of the, the human connection kind of thing going on and a lot of that stuff, and I have the extended cuts too, by the way, the zombies still manage to be kind of present throughout the show, throughout the movie, even if, they are kind of effectively contained. until, of course, humans show up and ruin everything. But I always think that if you're going to do something with zombies, you really need to have zombies be a continuous threat. And that's kind of difficult in most modern role-playing games because, let's be honest, most of your OSR type games, zombies are a low-level threat. They're maybe like 1 or 2 hit dice, maybe a couple more if you want something that's more like boss-like. But if you're playing in a highly magic system, what can they really do to threaten you? You got clerics that can turn them or destroy them utterly. Even if you do play with some kind of a disease rule, you have cure diseases. They're little more than a nuisance monster. They really are. Which is why I like specialized settings. It's one of the reasons why I embraced Year of the Zombie so much. Because it was played in D20 Modern, and the rules that were written up were pretty virulent. So, even if you were facing a crowd of, let's say, 1 hit dice zombies, and you were, I don't know, a 10th level, tough hero, the fact is, it only took one of those suckers to score the magical critical hit to give you the bite that would kill you eventually. Now, I know that that's, very much out of vogue with modern role-playing. Oh no, you don't kill the PCs. Well, I mean, if death is not a threat, then what else do you really have to hang over the PCs? Oh, well, that's just bad GMing. If death is the only thing you can hang over the PCs, well, okay. I mean, slowly turning into a zombie and turning on your party isn't much of a threat. Are you telling me that? Because I think that's a pretty powerful threat. The fact is that your fellow party members are going to be looking at you thinking, when's this guy going to turn on us and try to put the chomp on us? I think that's a great foil. I think that's great drama. That's great storytelling. But these days I guess I have it all mismanaged and misthought because the real thing these days is the GMs are just there to do what the players want. The PCs are never to really be placed into any severe danger that they can't fight their way out of, because all it is basically is a power fantasy for the players. Right? That's what modern gaming is. That's the real message behind it. They're not really supposed to be challenged. They're not really supposed to be threatened. They're not really supposed to have any serious issues with it, because real life is hard enough, and you don't want to play a role-playing game or a video game or anything that's too difficult. You don't want to have to work too hard to learn how to do anything. It's just too hard. Everything's too hard. We can't do that to our players. No. But anyway, I'm consuming a lot of zombie media. I love zombies. It's still my favorite genre of all time. And so here's what I'm looking at in the near future. So sometime in June, maybe just a little bit beyond, Kevin Crawford's Ashes Without Number is going to arrive at my house in its book form, and I will consume that greedily. Before then, most likely a finalized version of the PDF will land in my inbox, and I will consume that greedily. And of course, Ashes Without Number has a full set of zombie rules for OSR type games, specifically the ones that are created by Kevin Crawford. So I am looking forward to running a zombie game in the near future. And I have been kind of kicking around the idea of running Ashes Without Number in Whitechester, because I think the combination of rules might work together real well. It might be a really good thing, and maybe I can actually get Grim to play it. I don't know. And I know what y'all are thinking, well, Grim wrote it, so he knows everything. I bet he doesn't remember everything. I bet he doesn't, because he didn't write all of it. I know I can't remember shit that I wrote, 6 or 7 years ago. And even if he does, I know he's a good enough guy that he won't cheat the game. Because seriously, why would you want to cheat the game? You're just cheating yourself out of a good experience. So yeah, look on the horizon. I'll be running a zombie-style game using Ashes Without Numbers. I don't necessarily know that I'll use Whitechester. I may just go with something a little bit more generic. I don't know. But it's definitely something I'm kicking around because good zombie stuff is kind of hard to find these days. So, enjoy it while you can. I really had hoped that the Zombicide role-playing game, not the current one, but the medieval one, the Black Plague version, Plague Bearer, I had hoped it would have been out by now. I enjoyed the playtest that we did. I think most everybody who played in it enjoyed it, but they, for some reason, decided to not go through with it, and I guess they were retooling it and stuff. And now with CMON's latest pronouncements that game production is going to be kind of grinding to a halt as they lay off a whole bunch of people and try to fulfill what games they still have outstanding. I don't know what the future of that game is. It may never come to fruition, and that upsets me because I think it had more potential than the Zombicide Chronicles game that they put out, which we also tried to run and was largely kind of dissatisfactory for the players and myself to a degree. But anyway, I think Ashes Without Number will scratch the zombie itch, or the zombie bite, as it were. So let's get on to some gaming, shall we? Or some playing anyway, or some people. We got guests, we got hosts, we got guests, we got everybody here. We got Mr. Grimm himself. How you doing, dude?
Hello, I am alive.
I am glad you were alive. We have the Caster of Iron.
Hello.
Hello. It's good to see you, bud.
Well, it's good to see, it's good for what I can see, which is to say limited with these. And I suppose if the black aren't good enough, if Grimm doesn't mind me stealing too much of his style, I can go for red instead.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Go for it. I have no objection.
Yep. We have Hunter, who's become a regular on the show, sort of.
And also now a proud owner of the Whitechester PDF as well. Got that earlier this week.
There you go. There you go. And Daniel, who's also becoming kind of a regular on the show. Good to see you, dude.
What's up?
And our special guest today, the Chubby Funster. How are you doing, man?
How's it going? I should have brought a pair of sunglasses. Feel like odd man out here.
Well, I'm not wearing sunglasses, but I don't have. Well, I guess my avatar is. So
your avatar is, yeah.
But yeah. So let's see. I have some questions here. So, what is the payout percentage of a good zombie threat? Well, okay. Why don't we ask that to every member on the panel, kind of individually? I mean, for me personally, the good payout percentage of a good zombie threat, quite simply, it's the fact that most zombies are laughed off in games. I mean, it's like, oh no, it's a zombie. Look, they're slow. They don't attack very quickly. That they have so many limitations. But in the right context, which is, no magic to save your ass and limited equipment, they become deadly, especially in large numbers. So, in my opinion, it's a case of a good zombie threat. The payout percentage is, obviously, well, as Kevin Crawford puts it in his book, zombies don't usually come to you. You have to go interact with zombies and mess with them. And usually the reason is because zombies are infesting a place with resources you have to have. So the real question becomes, is it worth it? Is whatever's in that hardware store, do I need that so bad that I'm going to risk sending people in there to try to fight their way through that to get what they need? Or am I going to try to find a way to lure them out or something else? So I think zombies create a really good hazard, like a puzzle that the players always have to solve in a game.
That's what I was going to get at myself. I think zombies work best as a force of nature that is something that has to be overcome, like a bad storm. It's something that might roll on you like a wave of zombies that you have to survive.
Mm-hmm. Well, Grim, you did Chester. What do you think?
So, I mean, you can use them to lull people into a false sense of security, right? Because a zombie is a zombie is a zombie until it's not. One thing I do credit The Walking Dead with doing really well was innovating on the kinds of zombies. Like the one in the scrapyard whose head was covered, or they had those ones that had been covered over with salt and they were all tough and leathery. They've had them coming out of the ground, from under the sand or washing up on the shore, which is, given all these different kinds of ideas to it. And that's kind of how we approached Whitechester. Is sure, you've got tons of generic zombies moving around, but you've also got herds of zombies, which are a bigger threat in and of themselves. You've got ones that are tied to a location, like the ones at the tannery are going to be different to the ones at the mill, or all of that sort of thing, or the ones that have been stitched together and experimented on, or things like that. So that to me is, you can bring in variety, and the moment the players get complacent, then you can hit them with something out of left field.
Yeah. Chubby, do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about when Grim was talking there about in Ambition and Avarice, I had this idea that was inspired from GURPS Magic as some throwaway lit fiction line of somebody had taken zombies and put them in salt barrels and like put them away like alcohol to ferment for like a year, and then pulled them out, and they were incredibly powerful. And what was hilarious is there was nothing in the GURPS Magic book that would let you do any of that. There was no description of it. And so I was like, well, how could I use that idea? And I created like recipes for creating each undead. And I thought it would be like a really cool idea, but I haven't had anybody tell me else they thought. So I think people just like to just have regular zombie hordes. But I thought it would be cool for you to have recipes for creating all the different kinds of zombies and juicing them up. I've never really been like a zombie horror film guy, but to me, like I played games like Project Zomboid. It's a big
fun game,
and it makes me think when I play that game, I think of zombies in like 3 different categories of a problem. They're a problem in that like they can't get to me, I can't get to them. It's not an issue, but you can see that they're there. I think that adds to the world building for that to happen. Yeah. But like that needs to be present. Then I think there's a small enough burst of zombies here that I can conceivably kill them and take over the particular place. And then there needs to be some places where there's just so many, like you can't even contemplate taking that place out, right? And I think a lot of times we get stuck in the D&D framework of it's just the middle category. Like there's just manageable pockets of zombies that you can take out. And occasionally we have, some places where people really advocate putting a lot of zombies, but that's not really the dominant meta in D&D games that I see played. And I think that would be really good. Like in Shadow Rim, I have one of the Draugr ruins is mostly empty. You go in, there's like a stone door that's collapsed. And if the players spend time digging through it, all like 500 zombies burst through that door, like surprise, right? But other than that location, zombies are generally just, 2d6, 3d6 zombies at a time, and you could manage them. I'd like to see more of it be that overwhelming threat. But it can't get too much. Like I didn't really like the Walking Dead RPG because it seemed like you could never clear a place. The best result you could get was partial success in getting rid of them. And I do like the idea of if you work hard, you can clear a particular location.
Well, when I play my game of Project Zomboid, I do put in the thing where the zombies will not spawn. I mean, it's like the game starts with a set amount of zombies and it never goes up.
That's how I play it also. Yeah.
Yeah, because my thought is it should be possible to completely clean out the entire world of zombies at some point. Because just realistically, there's a finite number of zombies because there's a finite number of human beings. But that doesn't make it any easier.
Yeah, I love when I play like building up a base. I love I think it's in Rosewood. There's a fire station that's really great for building.
Yes,
and
the one
systematically clearing the whole town out. Like I think that would be a great role playing game experience. But I have too much other things, and I'm not that big of a fan of pure zombies. I'd rather it be one of a mix of a lot of monsters. But I think that would be a cool experience. Like it's almost like it'd be like playing Alien or like a Jurassic Park type variant where it's just this huge environmental danger, but you can overcome it. There's a limited number of them, and they will eventually be wiped out.
That's one of the things that I enjoyed about Whitechester when I was reading through it and writing for it is. Grimm has it set up to where, you check off how many zombies are left in that location. So it is possible to completely clean out Whitechester of zombies to the limit. But
yep, you can be king of shit mountain.
That's right. Oh. Daniel, you have any thoughts on this?
Well, I got a few. And zombies are kind of funny because they serve different purposes. And I think one of their main purposes, at least in role-playing games and stuff, has kind of been lost.
Mm-hmm.
They were always kind of a cannon fodder minion type situation.
Yeah.
A killable problem. And the big threat with your traditional mindless zombie was just that. They were traditional mindless zombies. They didn't feel pain. They didn't stop because they were injured. They just kept coming. They were utterly relentless. Unfortunately, modern DMs play every monster like that.
Yes.
Goblins are utterly relentless. They keep fighting till they have 0 hit points. Or, even though the description in the monster manual says flat out, oh, they're cowardly and they'll run away in the face of danger. They're sneaky and sly and try to gain an advantage. And when it's obvious they'll lose, they're gone. No, we're just going to sit here and stand in front of the fighter who's obviously stronger and just swing our Morning Star at him over and over again till we're dead.
Yeah, they don't morale check them ever.
Yeah, and take the morale check mechanic out of it. They don't treat them logically. That's the biggest problem DMs have is they don't make logical decisions in their world. Why are they doing this? It doesn't make sense. And so pretty much everything has become a zombie. So the zombie has lost its identity. Its identity before was I'm going to have to either avoid, get away from, or stop this thing because it will not stop. It's the Terminator. It absolutely will not stop. And now that everything absolutely will not stop, the zombie is just a meat bag of hit points.
Yeah.
But I always kind of viewed them a couple of different ways. One, they are the meat bag of hit points. They're that threat that is a threat because it doesn't stop. You have limited resources. It has limited resources, but it does not care if it expends its resources. And the other was the word was used by Funster here a second ago, environmental. I always saw them as an environmental hazard. Sure, you can clear all the zombies out and you can take over your area, but that doesn't mean they're going to stay cleared out. Because the zombies they're like a weather system. And you'll get a sprinkle of zombies. You'll get a zombie hurricane where this gigantic horde comes marching in from New York City down into Maryland or whatever. And you done took over your little Maryland area, your little cannery or your little old, shopping mall or whatever that you kind of set up base in, and here comes the zombie hurricane because 10 million people or 10,000 people from Baltimore are all marching at the same time. Now, zombies always kind of hurt a little for me because when you understand how long it takes, how the human body works, how much we heal ourselves. It's like a zombie apocalypse should never last more than a few months.
Yeah.
Even without killing them. Because you think about this. I walked into the kitchen to get myself a delicious glass of bourbon for this podcast. And because I wasn't paying attention, was just being a clumsy shit, I bumped my elbow into the door jamb on the way around the corner. Okay. There's a little bruise there. And tomorrow it probably won't be there anymore because my body will have healed it. If I were a zombie, that bruise would be there permanently. And then when, I scraped myself or I went and mowed the yard and I got bit by some ants, those ant bites are going to go away. They're not going to go away on that zombie. Those little cuts and everyday scrapes, those little bumps that bang in your shin against the table, that is going to tear those zombies apart. In addition to the fact that it only takes about 6 months for a human body to decay unless you're like out in the desert. So it's like, find yourself a bunker with, 6 months worth of canned goods and lock yourself in there and your zombie apocalypse problems are all over.
I want to piggyback on that with the idea of the spear, the simplest and easiest to make weapon of all time that you could use to keep an enemy at 5 to 10 foot distance. And I stopped watching Walking Dead after about the end of the first season. With my son was a huge fan of it. It was just like, dude, they're in Georgia. I live in Georgia. It's packed to the gills with small trees. There's little trees all over the place. You could make 100 spears a day, right? Like, why are these people walking around with 3 bullets? That's the kind of thing. Like, I think D&D players are so good at solving problems. They'll find a way to, they'll build a pit trap. They'll build a barrier. They'll be stabbing people in the face with it. And zombies wouldn't stand a chance against us.
Do you know how many tire irons they must have passed by on those highways? All the abandoned cars.
Tire irons.
Well, I mean, just a simple piece of sheet metal.
Zombies in the United States, if that happens.
Yeah, especially in Texas.
Just one HEMA guy in chainmail wandering around, like, ha ha ha, I'm immune.
Well, I mean, if they can't bite you, they can't get through your armor.
I mean, a HEMA guy in chainmail, one dude who went to bad cosplayer place and taped pillows around himself to make armor is safe from the biting of the zombie.
I mean, it's all of a sudden the medieval mace becomes real effective. But Hunter, you got any thoughts on it?
Part is these guys who were like 2 and 3 years in and they're driving cars. And it's like, gasoline has a shelf life, folks. It doesn't last that long. It's like within a few years, there are no running cars anymore because all of the gasoline is separated into its various base petroleum parts and water. And it's like your car cranks up and dies two feet around the corner.
You could make a gasohol generator.
Daryl ain't got no damn, unless Daryl's first stop on his motorcycle was AutoZone and he just has his backpack filled with heat and stabilizer. It's like the motorcycle ain't running by the time they get to by the time they meet Negan.
That's a good point.
If he had a 3-stroke moped, he'd be all right.
Yeah.
You can run them on just about anything.
Sorry, Graham. I was going to say, that's why they don't have any food is because they wasted all their carrying capacity on heat.
Hunter, go ahead.
Fuel stabilizer.
No. So I love Chubby, how you were talking about D&D players being smart. Now let me tell you about the first session of my OSE game that I ran for the first time that we were using your Shadow Room setting for. And first day during travel, leaving from Winterhold, trying to get the White Run for it because I got a message. They come across a Necromancer's cave that had 5 zombies in it. I had 3 players. I'm thinking 3 players, 5 zombies. They don't have a lot of hit points. They should be easy. Except my dice decided to say, screw my players, because I rolled max damage twice on these zombies, which, of course, for a first-level OSE character, that's a automatic down, usually. And so and I had like the fighter put up a good fight. Eventually, they all went down, and I'm like thinking at the top of my head, because like I don't want everyone to die like during the first session right off the bat. So I retconned that the necromancer returned to the cave, and now he's going to use them for some ritual, and we kind of continued from there for a few more sessions.
Well, your player's first mistake was not backing down.
Yeah, no kidding. I thought that was going to be a dumb player thing, because you sit here and you say, "Oh, we're D&D players. We've seen this stuff. We would do so great. We would think of all these things." Are we talking about the same D&D players? Because D&D players are the same people who talk about how the entire party died in the Tomb of Horrors in the first room because everybody jumped into the Sphere of Annihilation one at a time.
I apologize, guys.
Sounds very smart to me.
Something happened on my end, so if y'all were talking to me after I finished talking, I didn't hear a single word anyone said. So I'm sorry about that.
No, you're good. We were talking about your mother.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past anyone, but yeah. But I mean, it really comes down to basically just kind of like the game you're playing and how you run the dice. Because like a normal old school essential zombie is not the same as like say a Walking Dead zombie or a World War Z zombie. Everything's going to be different. And I know there's a new zombie game out there that I just came across. It's called Reanimated, and it's a D8 pool system. But but it's kind of like how Left 4 Dead is, where there's all various types of zombies. That's kind of what happens in this Reanimated game. Is you come across various types of zombies, so you have to come up with different ways of dealing with them.
Yeah, I think most games have kind of started. Well, they've all figured that out, and they've all said, "Well, people are just going to get bored with just regular zombies, so we have to like start making things like jumping zombies and fat zombies and spitting zombies and licking zombies and screaming zombies, and pretty soon it's kind of like, yeah, the zombies are still dangerous and everything like that, but I don't know. It just seems a little bit different because it's kind of like the common hordes stop really being the threat once more, because now you're more concerned about, oh, there's that special zombie over there, and that thing's more dangerous than the other ones.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the kind of Left 4 Dead type zombies where you've got all the different types. Though I thought Days Gone took a good approach because, well, they're not really zombies; they're like genetic freaks, but they're kind of organized into hives, and in that sense, that made sense.
The best zombies were not even zombies, in my opinion. The best zombies were in BioShock, and they were called splicers, and they were just drugged out. They were just drugged out, drugged out, genetically spliced homeless people. And that was the best zombies, because they were zombies. They were zombies the same way every overpass in America has zombies underneath it. They're just people that are doped up on fentanyl living in a tent avoiding the police. And the only difference is their fentanyl gives them laser eyes. But that was really the best, because let's face it, that's what, if you play BioShock 1 or 2, that's what the splicers were. They were an environmental hazard. They really had nothing to do with what you were trying to do. They weren't actively trying to stop you or oppose you. They were just trying to kill you because they were either cracked out of their brain or they were trying to steal your crack.
I think that's kind of the best. I think those are the best monsters to have. So, for example, I was running an OSC game, and for about 3 months, I had these guys being tortured by ants like every session.
Yes, because I was part of that one where we were trying to get rid of these stupid ants.
I was like, and then I just started introducing that little variety. Like, oh, these ones are nurturers. They kind of look after all the eggs, so they're going to be a little, more durable. Or these ones are going to be the fire ants, so there's going to be some little bit of a burning effect to them. It's it's kind of an interesting question to bring about, like which monsters would work best to have that variety to them ultimately. Zombies, yeah, we can kind of get some stuff there, but fundamentally there should by and large just be one type.
Yeah. I mean, it's just my main thing is that they should always be a threat, no matter how high a level you are. You shouldn't be 10th level and just, scoff at a mob of zombies. I mean, you should still look at a mob of zombies and go like, we may need to rethink this, or we may need to plan for this before we go and charge into that.
Yeah, like what I was saying, if it like my 3 players against 5 zombies, if my dice didn't screw them over the way that they did, they probably would have taken them out, no issue. But if it was just those 3 and the cave was just full of zombies, like maybe 10 to 20 of them, that would have been a situation where it would be like, oh yeah, let's back up before they sense that we're here.
Yeah, exactly. It's, you choose to interact with them usually. It's not a case of them always coming after you. But once they do find you, it's usually they won't stop coming. Kind of on a different note here. Earlier today, one of our friends up on X posted up his City State of the Invincible Overlord book, which was the Mayfair Games version. And according to him, he said it's reputed to be the lesser version. And then, of course, Goodman is supposed to be doing it as well. I have a copy of the City State of the Invincible Overlord, but it is not the Mayfair version. It is, in fact, this version, which was the Sword and Sorcery imprint. You can see it's still got the Judges Guild mark on it. But this was put out during the 3.0 days. And it's absolutely fabulous book if you can still find one. I mean, granted, it's all written in 3.0, so if you don't play 3.0, it maybe you'll have to do some adaptation to make it work, I suppose. But man, it's just an amazing resource. It's such a complete city, and it's kind of a template for a lot of other, I hate to say, better books, like in particular Bard's Gate, which is another huge ass city book that was put out by Necromancer Games. I don't know. Have you guys ever checked out City State of the Invincible Overlord?
I played it.
I'm familiar with Bard's Gate, but I don't know anything about that one.
I never heard about it until this week. So
None of you guys, any other guys have?
Nope. Only heard of it by reputation. Nothing else.
On my radar.
Huh. So, what do y'all think of Goodman Games getting the license for it?
I mean, is it supposed to be for 5 years or going to be for DCC?
Good question. It's probably going to be for both. Realistically, they're always going to satisfy their target audience, which is their own game. But usually they produce like a copy that's going to handle the latest D&D rule set because they know where their bread and butter is. It's like if you put out a game these days, if you're kickstarting a game, you can make it for your own system, but if you don't include like a or if you want to sell more copies of it, you put out a Shadow Dark version of it. That's your magic ticket.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care much about Goodman Games or DCC really much one way or the other to really have a strong opinion either or about it.
I'm just curious to see how they'll handle the source material because slavery is a key component of the City State of the Invincible Overlord. In fact, one of my favorite encounters in that book I just showed you is called Beat a Slave.
Well, on the slavery thing, I don't really see where that might be. I think that's kind of becoming less of a problem.
I agree. I made the same point last night on Eric Tenkar's podcast. We were talking about it. Rob Conley is a good friend of mine. We played together. He ran City State for me. My character was the not the most important character in the party, or whatever, but it ended up kind of becoming the most politically important character. I was the kind of the pretender to the throne in another kingdom, and the Overlord was helping me get back on the throne after a certain point, after about level 6. And I have tons of respect for Rob. Rob has deep issues with Bledsoe the Third, I think is the one who made a whole bunch of anti-Semitic comments on Facebook. I personally have no It's just like an example I use is Tom Cruise. I don't care how crazy Tom Cruise gets. It's not going to change the fact that I like Top Gun and all sorts of movies that he's been in. I don't care. I can understand having a personal stake in it, like Rob with a business relationship. But to me, if it's a good setting and people want to play in it, then let's play in it. And I've never understood why anybody is going around stabbing people, stealing from people, raising the dead, doing all kinds of terrible things, and then they go, oh no, I'm going to draw the line at slavery.
Mm-hmm.
The act of not killing someone and enslaving them instead of just murdering them, right? Like, that's such a weird place to draw a line. I don't get it.
This may be a fever dream, and it may be some crazy nonsense that I'm confusing 14 things together. And because X has been a fun place for me for the past few days, so it's been kind of as I've apparently decided to talk about zombie horde of mindless idiots. I've been fighting the entire Bro SR for the past several days.
I noticed that.
When are you not?
I mean, I'm usually not fighting all of them at the same time for several days on end. So I might be in a haze here, but I could have swore I saw somewhere. It looks like Wizards of the Coast is actually backing all of the old. I can't remember the name of the slave pit adventures from the
slave pits. Aren't
they backing some sort of revitalization, rework, reprint of all of them?
I know I bought a legacy copy of all the Slave Lord stuff in a single format book, but that was a couple years ago.
I don't see the Alphabet Mafia and the Grim Gym fans coming out of the woodworks to complain about it.
Excuse me? What?
Well, okay. I think the thing is, though, I think everybody has, is that they understand that the Slave Pit series is you against the slave lords, not you becoming the slave lords.
Well, that's never been a problem for them before, though. You against the slave lords but you put slavery in your game, and you mentioned the S word. I mean, that's never been a problem for them. Its very existence in the medium has always been a problem, and I think I think people have just gotten so sick of that it's finally like, yeah, you guys shut up. Complain about something that matters.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you wanted to run a Confederate or if you wanted to run a Civil War type game, it'd be like, well, you can't play members of the Confederacy.
The hell I can't.
Well, we of course did have that issue with Deadland where they had to make
by the way, one thing,
Homer Simpson, I come from the land where people say,
Well, one thing I do want to clear up too, really quick. I mentioned that the beat a slave encounter is my favorite thing in the City State of the Invincible Overlord. Just to be clear, what you do is when you go into the beat a slave establishment, they have a series of board games and things that sit out there. You pick whatever slave that you want to play at a game, and then you pay to beat them at that game, like chess or checkers or what. It's pretty funny. But seriously, that's the kind of humor that was in City State of the Invincible Overlord.
I was thinking
assuming it was actually beating them.
Exactly.
I'm thinking my character walks in there like Michael Jackson goes, Shimona, slap across the face.
No, seriously, that's one of the reasons why I remember that encounter in particular, because I thought that is so hilarious and original. I love the hell out of that idea. And City State of the Invincible Overlord has a lot of those little fun encounters that just kind of take it up to another level. Like you're going like, oh, that was a funny idea. I love that. Let's do that. But
I'm definitely going to rate it because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a sucker for a good setting.
Yeah, definitely. I highly recommend it. If you can find the older editions, do it. Otherwise, I guess you're going to be stuck with whatever Goodman Games decides to put out. And I can't vouch for that because I haven't seen it yet.
I just need the setting. I'll rip it off and put it in whatever I'm playing.
There you go.
They're only doing a limited run now, which is something to keep in mind. So it's not something you'll be able to pick up later. So
no, T-shirt. I mean, we talked about Shadow Sun before a lot. I I haven't had a single person say anything to me that they have a problem with it being in the setting because it's faithful to Dark Sun. Nobody's come to me about it. Somebody's tried to say, should we be talking about this at the very beginning when I first made Facebook posts about it in the Shadow Dark Facebook group? And Kelsey came out immediately and said, I've read the book. There's no problem. And nobody said anything else.
Kelsey is such a class act, man. She is. Yeah. I love her to death.
Yeah, she stays out of all the drama, but she also doesn't play with the drama either. Like, if anyone starts it up, I've seen her shut it down quick.
Yep. And she vouches for people who I care about. So that means a lot to me on a personal level. And I was, like I've always said, I was one of the people who was not on the Shadow Dark train when it first was being announced and everything else. I thought, oh, this is just some, Johnny come lately, fly by night, big hype thing that'll end up being a piece of shit.
Textbook example of how to do it right in terms of putting her game out there. Because I once told people, I'm like, what a thing about Kelsey is, I just don't know what her politics are.
I don't care.
Exactly. I don't know what her politics are. That's the entire damn point. I know what her game is.
Well, yeah.
I don't know because she hasn't made them she hasn't made them a reason to buy or not buy her damn game. Her politics are, I have a pretty good OSR game.
Yeah.
That's
and it's like
her politics are, here's my Kickstarter. Vote for it.
It's the same thing that me and Ironcaster have been saying about Fabula Ultima. It's like, some people point out, it's like, well, it's right there at the very beginning of your character sheet. So it's got pronouns on there. And it's like, we know who writes it. We know that they have political beliefs. I'm on their Discord. I've read the political stuff that they post in their Discord. But that being the case doesn't make it a bad game. It's a very enjoyable game. You got 4 people here who play it.
Yep.
Well, it's about this. Everybody has politics and should have them. They should have their political beliefs and political priors.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about it is, if you make your game about your politics, now your politics are a matter of concern for me. Like, for instance, I would buy one of Grim Jim's games, even though I guarantee you there's not a single political thing he and I agree on. But his games are not about his politics. His games are about being good games. But when you sit there and you come out and you infuse your games, head to tail with your politics, you change things because of political pressures, and you come out and you make statements like, oh, certain people can't leave the hobby fast enough, or, I'm going to decolonize. I'm decolonizing my game. And it's like, now you have made your politics a focal point of your game and your marketing. And
exactly,
you've just said, this is a reason not to buy your game. And I'm like, yep, it's a damn good reason not to.
Yeah, and to be clear, Grim Jim doesn't make games that are about his political ideology. He makes it about his sexual interests, which is why I'm waiting for his new Feet book to come out.
That's exactly my point. Is that
that just tells you what's the most dominant aspect of his mental makeup. It's crowding everything else out.
Well, we all like sex.
I will admit that I do. Like, I've called that. Me and Grim have had arguments on X plenty of times over certain things. But when it comes to TTRPGs, I've always had a mutual respect for him in that regard. Like, literally, just bought Whitechester. And I remember watching that full 2-hour video you did about the, what was the article that talked about you and just cancel hobby stuff going on. I even downloaded it. Yeah, because I even downloaded it after you did that because you were afraid, because you mentioned being afraid of it going down. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to download that. Because, like, even though we disagree, even though we disagree policy-wise, maybe on some politics, I don't agree with canceling people over politics altogether unless it's something, like, very extreme. But that's a whole other ballgame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I've got this $2 Australian from Mercurius. Thank you very much, sir. You didn't post anything, though, but I really do appreciate your support. I kind of wish other people would donate, too. I got car payments. But
I sent you $50 like weeks ago.
Well, yeah, but you didn't send it today.
Because I'm here.
Oh, I see. So you bribed me to come on the show, and now that you're here, you're not going to pay me anymore.
I didn't realize how bad that sounded until you pointed that out. So
Car payments come monthly.
They
there,
do.
Hunter.
They do. Car payments do come monthly. But anyway, here you go, Mercurius. This one's for you.
You motherfuckers are the cause of my suffering.
While you're at it, join my Patreon. No, hey guys, come on now. There's 9 of you here. Why do we only have 3 likes? Come on, guys. Show some love. Hit the thumbs up button.
I think we need.
Hey, Django. It's good to see you.
Let's show a little more gratitude for people. This is how I feel when people send in super chats and donations.
Oh.
what the hell?
Oh, this is so fucked up. I don't
It
know
works
if
really well. What you do is you put some peanut butter on some toilet paper.
Oh, that
You go over there and you say, "Hey, man, can you kick that back over?"
I thought it was going to be a reenactment of the scene of that Congress person that tried to hook up with a guy in an airport bathroom.
He did.
I thought that was going to be like.
All right. I got one that's fun. Here, hang on. Let me go and throw this one in there. I may get this may get claimed. This may get taken down. I hope it doesn't get my channel taken down. But anyway, it should be funny.
Oh, a slayer. Show me your big fat.
I see this one all over the place.
Hey, that looks like an AI image I tried to make of a guitarist. I mean, it just kept coming out of its eye. Now I know where the AI sourced the image.
There you go. The only other thing I've got to show as far as a video is this really cute little robot that dances in for the latest Japanese McDonald's commercial. Which, by the way, if you guys never look at the Japanese McDonald's thing, you should, because it's the most wholesome stuff I've ever seen. It's like it makes me actually want to go eat over there.
Yeah, but it makes up for their food because they have like the McDodoria over there. That's like something that funks you out of the entire restaurant with the smell. And
well, I mean, the Japanese McDonald's. McDonald's menu actually looks more healthy than the American one for some reason. I don't know why.
Probably is, but it's like, oh, look, it's a McRotting duck fetus.
Well,
that's what we eat in Asia.
Okay.
Look, I love Asian food. I love all cuisine, but let's just all agree here. If there's one area of the planet that eats like some really questionable shit, it's Southeast Asia, all the way up in through Japan and Korea.
Well, yeah, I haven't yet tried balut.
They spray the soy sauce on it, and it activates the neurons, and it moves on the plate.
The squid.
Yikes! Yeah.
And then you watch them hentai movies with the octopus, and it's like, man, y'all are playing with your food.
Mm-hmm.
Good God!
I have a direct question here that only the Chubby Funster can answer. So here you go. Django says, "Tell me about Shadow Sun." He's a big Dark Sun fan. Are you muted?
Sorry, I my wife and son had come home. I was trying to avoid them getting on the mic. So Shadow Sun is an adaptation of a lot of ideas from Dark Sun into Shadow Dark. It still keeps faith with a lot of the elements of Shadow Dark, and there's no metals. There's the whole world is destroyed by that. There's a class that draws magical power out of the environment in the same way that defiling works in Dark Sun. But to make sure that I didn't have any copyright issues, there's a lot of non-Dark Sun stuff in there. To align with the Shadow Dark, the seas, so to speak, are black silt. It's very fine silt that people can sail on, like the Silt Sea in Dark Sun. So there's a blend of all sorts of different ideas, but it's still pretty faithful to Dark Sun. I'm actually working right now on the first of what will be a series of Curse Scroll type designs to expand the Shadow Sun universe, and then eventually cap that into a rebuild of the product, because it was the first product I ever made for Shadow Dark, and there's a lot of things that I want to go back and do differently. But when you've got a book out, it's very hard to go back, because if you change the PDF in any way, all of a sudden all the books that have been printed are no longer aligned with it. But it's on Drive-Thru RPG. It's a platinum seller, halfway to Mithril. It's been very, very successful product. I'm proud of it.
It's one of the few that I actually bought a hardback of, as well as the PDF. So I recommend it. Still haven't actually played the Shadow Dark game, and I want to at some point, but that's definitely one I would get for it. In fact, I'll be honest. I mean, I'm not just kissing Chubby's ass on this, but I own quite a few of Chubby's books, and it's not because there's some. It's not because he's paying me or anything for it. It's the fact that they're really good.
Hey, you aren't getting those checks?
Nope, not here. But it's always time to. There's always, you can always send them to me, back taxed wise, But no, seriously, it's like his equipment guide. All of the equipment guides in his books are super duper awesome, and that's totally one of the best reasons to buy his books. The trophy section is like one of the most innovative things I've seen, and it almost gives it a Monster Hunter touch to the games. So you can definitely spin your games out in different directions using that system.
Bringing that into, I've been working on what's going to be kind of the version of the player companion that I currently have for base Shadow Dark. For the Western Reaches, I'm going to be making a new book, and I've been expanding out. And since I'll have a much better grip now on what monsters I need to stat out trophies for, which I didn't when I was first writing it, because the Kickstarter had just closed and stuff like that. So I'll be able to have trophies for all the stuff that's in the Western Reaches that comes out.
Well, the one idea that I really like behind the trophies for all the monsters, and I mean, he's got trophies for pretty much all the monsters, or at least most of the ones that you can think of that are pretty common to all the OSR type games, is the fact that how many times have we played the MMO and it's like, go kill 5 wolves, and somehow the 5 wolves have gold pieces on them, and I'm just like, the fuck? Did they swallow them? So... And this was a thing. It's like, because I remember one of the things I really enjoyed about Starfinder was the fact that the monsters didn't always, the space creatures and stuff didn't always have treasure on them, but their hides or their glands or certain parts of their anatomy, if they were harvested, were worth money. And it's like I told my players, I said, this is brilliant. This replaces the whole, stupid thing about having to find lair treasure or having gold on the actual monsters and stuff, because now it actually gives you value. The treasure is the monster. And it's the same thing with this. Now you have a reason to hunt these things down and collect them and bring back, their pelts or their glands or their eyeballs or their bones or whatever the hell the trophy is, because now it's a payable thing. It adds a Monster Hunter-like element to it. It also kind of plays into the JRPG element of things as well. So,
now that
kudos.
Act 2 is out, there's also one of the things I think is really great. It has value for every monster in gold pieces, depending on its maturity and training level. So if you capture an orc kid and train them into being a bodyguard, you can sell them for a huge amount of gold. But if you just sell them as an untrained kid, they have, they still have a value, but it's much less. So there's kind of an incentive to capture monsters when they're young, grow them, sell them. Yeah, they're yeah. I did this before Axe came out. So
yeah, he did.
Before Axe 2 came out.
I would like to argue really quick about the only difference between Axe and Shadow Dark is Axe it has to make you read 1,400 pages to compare to Shadow Dark's only like 300 plus.
Oh, come on now. We're not going to bash Axe on here too, okay?
There's a
I like
lot of
McCree.
virtues, yeah.
Axe is a simulationist game.
It
a
is.
different animal altogether.
And one of these days, guys, I will call Alex McCree to come back and hang out with us again, and I'll invite you guys to come hang out with him because you guys got to meet him. Because once you get in the same channel with Alex McCree and you find out just how fucking smart this guy is, it's like, wow.
Oh,
I'm not hating on the dude at all. I think he's a great dude. I believe he's a great author. I just based on that alone, I don't think Axe would be my kind of game.
You'd be surprised, and like he would probably tell you, is you can disregard the things you don't like. But as he also says,
you can start out as a very basic character design, roughly on par with just a little bit more complex than Shadow Dark.
Well, like one of the wisest things that he's ever said, and it's on my channel because he said it to me or to us, is he had a guy who contacted him and was complaining about how one of the classes was way overpowered. And Alex asked him, he said, well, how are you using it and all this? And the guy told him, said, well, we omitted this rule and this rule and this rule and everything. And he said, that's probably why it's coming off as overpowered, because you're playing it not as it was intended or without all the limitations that were supposed to be in place for it to check it.
It's like the opposite of the issue. Sorry, I found a soapbox. 3.5. Anybody who's ever watched anything on my channel knows good and well that I am like a 3.5 edition D&D guy when it comes to D&D. I'm
with you on that.
Better D&D, but I always tell people, I'm like, the issue people have with D&D comes from the fact that they don't understand that the game is designed to be modular, not I throw every single thing in all the time, every time. So it's like, yeah, this is overpowered. It's overpowered when you allow 14 different source books that make no logical sense being used together to put them together to make this thing. If you make logical decisions that make sense, where it's like this source book and this source book do not logically go together, like these things would not really exist in the same world, bingo, you don't have the problem anymore. Same thing there. It's like you can't really gripe, and like I said, opposite problem with Axe. You can't really gripe when you say I omitted 6 rules and somehow my game is broken. It's like I got a car out there. It has 8 cylinders in it. I omitted 6 cylinders and now it runs like shit. It's not Ford's problem.
Maybe don't combine the Ravenloft source book with the Theros source book and complain that your setting doesn't mesh well. Like bingo, it does.
Although I will say in 3.5's defense, okay, towards the end of 3.5's shelf life, they were releasing books that obviously had not been play tested worth of shit. And my biggest prime example that I always cite is their dragon book that came out, and this was an official Wizards of the Coast product. Okay, so this was not a third-party support product. This was not like made by Shade Tree Enterprises on a PDF for $1. This was an actual hardbound brown cover book about dragons, and I have it over on the shelf somewhere.
Is it the Draconomicon?
I think it may be the Draconomicon.
I have that book. Yes.
Yeah. It has a spell.
You ain't talking about. Let's see here. Let me see if
it has a spell that is called Power Word Pain. It is a first level spell. That may be the one. Maybe not. But Power Word Pain is a first level spell, and it causes an increasing amount of damage over time that can't be shut off once it starts. So it's like a D6 the first round, and then it continues on for so many rounds afterward. And I'm just kind of like, so it's a DOT, and it's like a first level spell, but it's like so powerful. It's like more powerful than Magic Missile or anything else. Plus, since it's a DOT, it's doing damage over time. So after the first round you drop it, you could still keep hitting the guy with more magic missiles and everything else. And I mean, for a first level character, that's way fucking powerful, man.
I don't want to get started on Wizards of the Coast, but one of their big problems is that they're having people write stuff that have very little practical experience playing the game. And they're hiring people because they fit certain criteria about, this person has written a
Right
thing
pronouns.
in the past, or or even now. I'm not, but like, it's kind of like I don't have a degree in graphic design, so I can't get certain jobs because I don't have a degree in graphic design. But I do my own cartography. I do all my own layout. I do a whole bunch of edits and editing in Photoshop, all this stuff. But it's not the official degree, so I can't get a job like that. Like, so that's the kind of thing. Like, there's people who are really good at it who they could use, but they won't use them because they don't fit the corporate hole that they're trying to put that person in.
Well, in 3.5, in the late edition, one of the problems that they came about is because they had started to cut back their staff and they were getting ready to move into 4th edition, they did develop a bit of a habit of abusing the OGL. And when I say abusing the OGL, what I meant was the only criteria for whether or not they would steal something and print it in one of their books was, did this person manage to sell a bunch of books? So you would have an OGL produced 3.5 item, like, some kind of source book, Traps and Trickery or something like that. And early on, they would basically curate that, and they would go through all the different OGL stuff and say, here's something that's really good. We're going to go ahead and put that in this compendium, and we're going to release, Magic Items Compendium, and it's going to have some stuff that's similar to these OGL things that came out that were good and that we vetted. Very late, it was, we're just going to list this compilation. It's like, well, that guy sold like 1,000 of these, so yeah, we'll go ahead and throw that in there. It's like, well, did you read that? The only reason he sold 1,000 of them is because he has a 1st level spell called Win the Game.
Esoteric Order of Nerdity says, I want to make a game that allows for high-level magicians to use Armageddon spell to destroy the setting because I'm an asshole sometimes. Okay, let me tell you what. You don't have to be a high-level mage to destroy a setting. I'll just tell you, I mean, you could be a 1st-level character and destroy the setting.
Isn't that just
real
Meteor
easily.
Shower?
No. Let me introduce you to 3.5.
Yeah, I mean, at 1st level, all you have to do is pretty much not go along with the GM's plans, game, or anything else, or interact with his world or anything, and just basically frustrate the shit out of him to the point where he either quits or kicks you out. And you've pretty much effectively done the same thing. You didn't even need a high-level character to do that.
I'll kill your ass.
Yeah,
you tie a maiden on my railroad, and I will run your ass over.
But I've seen that happen more than once. And it's happened to me more than once. It's like when you get that one player at the table who just absolutely will not fucking do anything that you throw out at them. No matter, I mean, it's like, like, what's your deal, man? It's like, why are you sitting here? Why are you, I see you on your fucking phone the entire time and you don't pay attention and you just act like I owe you something. And it's like, why are you at my table?
Marked for death by the local assassin guild. For some reason.
I'm going to avoid it because it's another of my soapboxes. I got a collection. But that's one of those things. Railroad is one of those words that has been misdefined. There's a lot of racism in our games. Okay? And when I say a lot of racism, I don't mean like the actual concept. I mean racism as in racism is a word that has virtually lost all meaning in modern society because it's so heavily watered down. And words like railroad have been so abused and misapplied by the hobby that they've almost lost all their meaning. And you get these players who are like, I'm not going to be railroaded. So that means that I am going to act contrary to every signal that is in the game. It's like, you're not being railroaded because the GM said, well, this guy over here has a problem and wants to pay you to solve it. You're just not doing that because, well, that's a railroad. It's like I have to show up to work to get a paycheck. You're railroading me. That's what this bullshit is that these players come up with. And you get the guy who's like, I'm so much not going to be railroaded that I'm just going to go the opposite direction of everything. And I've got the great solution to it. You don't have to kill them. You don't have to put a Tarrasque on that side of the village to eat them the second they step out of time. It's real simple. It's like, okay, so you go back to your house and you sit down, and I'm going to play with these other people over here. No. You're sitting in your easy chair at the house. You're on the rocking chair smoking your pipe on the porch because you decided that your character wants to do jack shit with his life.
Uh-huh.
You went that direction. You have your agency, player agency. You went that direction. Guess what's that direction? Nothing. A life of you sitting on the porch smoking a pipe and the landlord showing up asking you where the rent is.
I mean, it's kind of like if you just wanted to, like stay at home and not interact with anybody like that. I do that every single day. I don't need to do it in my role playing game too.
I mean, what did George Carlin say? You show me somebody who sits at the house and plays with his prick all day, I'll show you somebody who ain't causing any problems. Well, I roll the character to cause problems.
I've always maintained that PCs have to have a certain level of suicidal ideation, or at least suicidal desire, just because no sane man straps on armor and a weapon and voluntarily walks into a death trap situation where they could be killed and left for dead or horribly maimed or reanimated as a corpse or have their soul tortured and sucked out by demons or turned into a vampire. Any of that shit, any of the horrible shit that happens in a D&D game or any other OSR game or any TTRPG, nobody would volunteer for that if they weren't a little bit suicidal.
I don't care how much
the
on
money's
TV talent shows. So I think they'd go into dungeons.
Well, I don't know. It's like I feel a lot safer getting on like American Gladiators, even in the shape I'm in, versus stepping into the caves of chaos. I think my chances are slightly better.
Might be a good game for X-Crawl.
Yeah,
exactly. I was just saying, didn't they just bring out X-Crawl to be just that
for DCC? Yeah, they brought out a version of it. So yeah, it's fun. X-Crawl is fun.
Yeah. Well, isn't that also what? Because I forgot who told me about this. Like the Halls of Arden Vol, isn't that some like giant ass mega dungeon or something?
No,
I don't know. There's so many mega dungeons out there. I can't keep track of all of them. The sad fact is, and I don't want to like try to not help anybody sell their books, but you really only need to buy one mega dungeon book ever. I mean, find one that you really love and buy it, because the chances are, if it's a well-designed mega dungeon, you can keep reusing it infinitely over and over and over, because chances are pretty high that you will never have one group successfully clear the entire thing.
Yeah, I've got a whole bunch of books where I look at them and I go, man, I could run a 3-year campaign out of this one book.
That's what I'm saying, man.
My general problem with mega dungeons as a concept is that the player appetite for running a mega dungeon is far less than the material that is available.
Yeah, because players are going to get sick of it.
They want to go down in that same location, and people just get bored.
They do. I mean, I remember one time we had a new GM who decided he wanted to run the Dungeon of the Mad Mage. And I was in that campaign, and it was just like, after we cleared a few rooms, I was like, the session was over for the night, and I'm like, do we get XP? And he said, well, actually, this is on a milestone leveling, and you don't get a level until you clear a floor. And I said, so we literally have to go through every single room on this floor in order to advance, even though we've killed like 3 mana cores and all this other shit? And he's like, yeah. And I said, well, how many more rooms do we have? 12. Like, fuck.
What's way more fun is you say there's only 6 rooms, but you have to go through them in a specific order. And if you get the order wrong, you got to start over.
Oh God.
That actually sounds like it would be pretty fun.
That's when I pull out ideas like you have everybody in the party go out and get a ton of wood. You bring it down to that first dungeon room. You set up a huge bonfire. You light it up. You step outside, and then you shape stone to seal that entrance. And then you just wait. Wait a couple days. Come back. Open it back up again. Go in there. Carbon monoxide's a bitch, man.
Well, the problem is that you set your fire at the top of the dungeon. So because heat rises and numerous other things, all that's going to happen is your fire is going to burn out on the top floor. You're going to come unseal the dungeon, and I'm going to look at you as the GM and say, well, the top floor is like burnt to shit, and there's a lot of dead stuff on the second level. But you know what? There were some hobbits once. And Frodo and Merry and Pippin all got a book written about them. The rest of them didn't get a book written about them because they were boring as shit. So which one do you want to be, player? How about you be Frodo and go down in the damn dungeon?
That was it. I'm ready to go down to level 2.
Oh, Sabo came on.
Hi-Fo!
In my experience, my game master can base their dungeons on the same dollhouse every time. From the perspective in the description, it always seems different. Mega dungeons are overkill. Yeah, they kind of are. And as I always tell people, it's like, you can run a module, but the best use of modules, in my opinion, is to just steal snippets of it here and there and just drop them into your regular sandbox campaign. I mean, don't be obvious about it. I mean, if the PCs are out exploring and they find like a little house in the woods, don't have like fucking Strahd show up in it.
Strahd.
Or do. I don't know. That would be a surprise, wouldn't it? You met me at my summer home.
Showed up. IRS came by, he lost his castle.
Yeah. I'm currently between houses right now. My place in Barovia is under construction, so I'm staying here. Why did you come here?
My investments didn't do so well.
I've always wanted to do a Lamentations adventure called Curse of Stroud.
Curse of
Stroud?
Yes.
I'll give
Home
you
of the Bard, Shakespeare.
I have a Sunday group I do an afternoon game with, and the guy who runs it makes his own games. And one of the other players is thinking about, because we're talking about Christmas one-shots, and we're talking about the 3 gifts the Magi gave baby Jesus, which was frankincense, gold, and myrrh. And we came up with the idea of a Mafia one-shot where the Godfather is sending his 3 stooge of subordinates to give some very special newborn gifts, and they are Frank, Goldstein, and Myrrh.
Oh, nice.
Oh, God.
Nice.
Hey,
all right.
I'm going to give you one though, T-shirted.
Oh,
there's a better use for modules.
Mm-hmm.
All right, it's not just lifting ideas out of them, which is a very good use of them. I am a big proponent of modules. Not necessarily running them as written, not necessarily running them as ideas.
Oh, yeah.
But a module, at least a good one, is an adventure. Actually, hell, even a bad one.
Mm-hmm.
A module is an adventure that was written by somebody else, which means it's somebody who thinks differently than you. When you're like somebody like me who has the same group for a decade, those players who've been playing with you for years on end, they understand how you think. They know what's coming on. It doesn't matter. You could have done something completely, some completely original, some great new idea you have. They still kind of figure out what's going on because they know how you think. But if you study modules and you look at things, you will find that you start thinking of different ways to create scenarios and create puzzles and things for the players to figure out. And because they were written by other people, they don't come from your mindset, and they will throw a complete monkey wrench in the thought process of that party that you've had for 5 or 6 years.
Absolutely. All right. Well, my gentlemen, it's 5:21 here, so we're past our time. But I've really enjoyed it. I hope you guys had fun. I mean, yes, we didn't have any pertinent, newsworthy topics, but I think just in general, it's been a good series of little discussions about things in gaming. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but what do you think?
Yeah.
It was good.
It's just fun just to hang out. It's always fun. It's just hanging out.
It is. And I mean, and that's kind of like what a lot of my channel is. It's guys who are like-minded or at least have similar opinions on things of culture all hanging out. And I'm kind of like, well, look at this. We got a whole panel of game players and game designers and stuff like that. Let's talk some game shop stuff, because sometimes we don't get to do that very much. What?
I said, and then I'm here.
Oh,
People
come
like
on. You're Caster, other than the fact that I'm annoyed because you didn't run Fabula Ultima on Thursday, you're fine.
He's here for his beard.
Yes, he's here for his. Actually, he's my diversity. He's my diversity guy because I needed an Indian on the show. So
I was on a live.
I've got plenty of diversity here. I've got black and red.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, are we gonna have a game tomorrow, Grim, or how are you feeling?
I don't think so.
Okay.
We'll see how I feel after doing tabletop list tonight. But from the way I'm feeling at the moment, I don't think I'll be up to it tomorrow. But
Okay.
Simon was on about running something, so talk to Simon.
All right. Well, I mean, it's had to know. So in the meantime, guys, catch us on Tuesday with Geeks when I have no idea who's going to be there. But big news, next Saturday, we're going to have Mark Reinhagen, the original creator of Vampire, on to talk with us about his brand new game, Fang Night. So this is kind of one that, this crew here has been following kind of before it really got off to bat because, I guess it's okay to admit that, Mark actually came to us and asked us about the game like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see what he's come up with. And, it's the creator of Vampire, man. This is like one of the industry legends who really doesn't get enough credit, in my opinion, because he's, a lot of people, you mentioned Mark Reinhagen, are like, who?
Yeah.
That's okay.
Because his impact is enormous and far-reaching. Not just Vampire, but Ars Magica and all the stuff that came out of World of Darkness and spin-off concepts and everything. He's a legend.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that this guy was making this game. I saw Mildred the Monk was talking about this game on his channel earlier.
Oh yeah. This is a big deal because if he's doing a D20 Vampire RPG, I definitely want to know about it. Not to mention it's you could go back and read like first edition, second edition Vampire the Masquerade, and you could just kind of like see the genius pouring off of every page. And I still have my copy, so I know this for a fact. But anyway, y'all join us next week, and we will see you on the Week in Geek.
Goodbye.
See you.
Bye.
Toodles.
On behalf of the staff of the Independent California Motel, I wish you all sweet dreams.